coders, welcome back to Pepcoding. So today in this video we are going to discuss the solution of our second pattern, that is something like this. In this question we are given an integer n, and for that integer we have to draw this star pattern, right? So let's take this to the whiteboard to understand how can we print this. So we are given this pattern, right? So let's first count the number of rows in this. So we can see that there are 5 rows present in this pattern, which means that for this pattern n will be 5, right? So whatever the value of n is given, we have to print that many number of rows in our star pattern, right? So next, let's take a look on this loop. If you don't want watch the video of the solution of first pattern, then I recommend you to please watch that. Then you can easily understand this one, right? So can you tell me that what this loop is going to do? Yes, this is going to print I number of stars for us on the output, in the output, right? So we know that we have a faith that this loop will print I number of stars for us, right? So in this pattern, what we want in each row particular number of stars, right? So let's first count the number of stars in each row. In the first row, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stars. In the second row, we have 4 stars. In the third row, we have 3 stars. In the fourth row, we have 2. And in the last row, we have 1 star, right? So we want these number of stars in particular rows, right? So we know that this loop is going to print I number of stars for us, right? So now we want I number of stars, but we have to give some value of I, right? Only then this will print that number of stars for us, right? Like we have a worker, we know that the worker will do the particular task for us in particular time, but we have to assign some task to that worker, only then that worker will can do that task for us, right? So in order to provide I, we want another loop, right? So here we want another loop, that is an outer loop, which will give this loop the value of I, so that the inner loop can print that much number of stars for us, right? Now let's observe that what will be the value of I, right? So in the first row we can see that we want 5 stars. Now what is 5? 5 is the integer, right? The value of n given to us, right? So we have to start from 5, and in the next row the value of star decreases, that is 4. In the next 3, 2 and 1, right? So we have to start from n, that is we have to start from 5, right? So we have to start from n, we have to go till 1, right? Now we know that in the range function the upper limit is exclusive, so if we we want to go till n, then we have to write 0 here, right? Now we have to go from n to 1 in the range function. If we want to decrement the iterator, right? Firstly we want n, then we want n minus 1, n minus 2, so on up to 1, right? We want this, so we have to write the steps here. So the steps want in this loop is minus 1, right? So we have to write minus 1 here, right? Now this loop will start from 5. The inner loop is going to print 5 stars for us. We have a faith that this will print perfectly the 5 stars, right? Now the value of n I will decrement to 4, right? Because the steps written here are minus 1, right? Now this for loop will print 4 stars for us. Now the value of I is decremented to 3. The inner loop is going to print 3 stars for us. Value of I is decremented to 2. The inner loop is going to print 2 stars for us. Value of I is decremented to 1. The inner loop is going to print 1 star for us. Now in the range function we wrote that we want values till 1 only. So the for loop terminate here and we go out of the for loop, and we got our desired pattern, right? Now again the concept of abstraction is coming here, right? Now for this outer loop, the inner loop is a magic. That is, the outer loop is giving an order of I, and the inner part is going to print that much number of stars for us. That is what we want, right? We want particular number of stars in particular row, right? So this is abstraction, that is the outer loop is going to give order and the inner loop is going to perform its work perfectly. Now the outer loop is having a faith that if I give an order of I, the inner part is going to print that much number of stars for me, right? Similarly, the inner loop is going to perform its work perfectly. That is, whatever is the value of I is given to it, it will print that much number of stars for us, right? So if the value of I is given 5, it will print 5 stars for us. If the value of I is 4, it will print 4 stars for, and that is what we want, right? So let's try to execute this. So firstly, let me write the inner loop. So the inner loop is going to print I stars for us, right? So we'll print I stars. After each star we want some tab space, right? So we add some tab space here. Now this loop is going to print I number of stars for us, but we have to give it the value of I, right? So we want another loop which will provide the value of I to the inner loop, right? Now in the first row the value of I is starting from n, so it will start from n, it will go till 1, so we have to write 0 here because again the upper range is exclusive, right? So we have to write 0 here if we want this loop to run from n till 1, right? And the steps are -1 because the value of the number of stars are decrementing when we go from one row to the next, right? In the first row the number of stars are 5, in the next row the number of stars remain 4, right? In the next 3, so we have to write the steps here as -1, right? Let's add indentation here, otherwise it will give us the error, right? Not error, but it will not give us the correct output, right? So here we add a new line because at the end of each row when the value of I is increasing from 1 to 2, then we are having a new line here, right? So let me add a new line here using backslash n. Now I think that it is going to give us the expected output. Let's check. Yes, we are getting the expected output here, right? Let's try to submit it. Yes, our code gets submitted, right? So our code is correct for all the test cases. Now what we are doing here, again we are using the concept of abstraction, that the outer loop is only giving the order. It doesn't know that how the inner loop is going to work. It is only giving the order that I want I number of stars in the ith row, right? So firstly it is starting, let the value of n is 5, so it is starting from n 5, right? So the inner loop is going to print 5 stars for it. The outer loop is having a faith that the inner part will work perfectly for me, right? So it is only giving the order of 5 stars. The inner part is going to print 5 stars for it. Now the value of I is the value of I is decremented to 4, right? Now the inner outer loop is giving the orders of 4 stars. The inner loop is printing 4 stars for it, right? Here we are adding a new line so that we can come in the next line, right? Again we are entering the next line. The value of I decremented to 3, the inner loop is printing 3 stars for us, right? Value of I is decremented to 2, we are having 2 stars. 1, we are having 1 star. Now the range function will now this for loop is only going to implement from n to 1. So now the value of I becomes 0, so we move out of this for loop, right? So we are getting our desired pattern. Now again, this loop doesn't know that what is happening inside. It is only giving an order that I want I number of stars in a particular row, right? So it is only giving the orders. It is controlling the number of stars, right? So it is responsible for the termination of this inner for loop, right? And the inner for loop is printing I number of stars with perfect spacing for the outer loop, and we are getting our desired pattern, right? So I hope you understand this pattern. If you like the video, then please like it and subscribe to our channel. Thank you for watching.